What's up, YouTube? I'm Mike, and today I'm doing sort of a review video, I guess. What we're going to be talking about today is Clenbuterol. This is a drug that honestly I never thought I would use. I've never really had any difficulty cutting, and I have always felt like basically contest prep and the things that people do to their bodies trying to get to super low body fat and or to dry out for the contest stage is where the vast majority of damage is done to bodybuilders. I don't really believe that unless, obviously there's cases, Dallas McCarver, Boston Lloyd, these guys are rumored to be taking 10,000 milligrams of gear a week. Obviously there's a point where blasting gigantic amounts of androgens is gonna have some negative effects. But by and large, I think guys like me, lifestyle bodybuilders, people who just want to look good on the beach, people who just want to get big and jacked, I don't really think that androgens are really that dangerous to your health at all. As long as you do like obvious things, manage your blood pressure, get your blood work done, don't let your liver get blown up, stay on top of your kidney function. If you're doing the basic just metabolic panels and keeping an eye on your general health, in my experience, you can run relatively large. I've run up to 2 grams of gear per week for a long time now, and I have had no significant health problems from it. What I think is the really dangerous shit is the diuretics and the amphetamines or anything people use as appetite suppressants, cutting agents. This is what I think puts the most stress and strain on the body. Obviously, being in a deep deficit, being very low body fat percentage. What people go through trying to get to this place is, I think, what causes the vast majority of bodybuilder deaths and the majority of the negative health outcomes. So I was never really interested in using Clenbuterol, not to mention the fact that pretty much everyone I hear talking about it always gets up eventually to these high doses. I watched videos that Greg Doucette made, not only reviewing Clenbuterol, but when he was in the middle of taking a bunch of it, and you could see the jitters and the shakes, and he was talking about having the Clen shakes. Nothing about this drug honestly looked very good to me. But I was placing an order some time ago, and PCT 247 has Clenbuterol retardedly just very low prices, and so it's like, hey, why not? My wife had interest in it, so I picked up a box, thinking that eventually she would, because she was planning on running it. Well, then when I started cutting this time, it occurred to me that she'd never taken it. We just kind of, it showed up, amongst other things that I needed at the time, and it kind of just got cast to the background. Nobody was really thinking about it. So I remembered that it was in there, and I was like, hey, what do you think about running Clen? And she's like, yeah, I want to try it. I totally forgot it was in there. So like, cool, let's do it. Let's do it together. We'll do an experiment, and we'll see what the effects are. Now, I gotta be honest, like I said, I was scared of this drug. I am scared of this drug. And so I kind of punked out a little bit. Generally speaking, I don't let my wife, let is a strong word. I never advocate my wife take something that I haven't taken, especially from a that didn't come from the pharmacy. I view PCT 247 to be pharma grade drugs, and it has been my experience. Even when I thought they weren't, I was proven to be wrong. I'm still taking a large amount of American pharma grade 8X, trying to control my very high estrogen levels. I'm happy to report that it's down. I just don't know why it's taking so much to keep it down. But that's another video. So, Sarah did a bunch of research. We both were researching Clenbuterol the night before we took it and the morning of. And basically, we're reading nothing but negative things. We were reading about increased body temperature, the tremors, the shakes, nausea, that it can cause low libido in some, that it can cause erectile dysfunction, that it can cause nausea, vomiting, appetite suppression, like a lot of bad stuff. And really, honestly, you don't really read a lot of positives. There are some user reports of people who really like it, but one of the positive user reports that I read was this dude that basically was like, yeah, I get all the negative side effects, I just kind of like the way they feel. And so when she was reading about it, I thought there was a 0% chance she was going to try it. But she pretty much already made up her mind. So she's literally laying there in bed, she reads all this negative stuff, and she's like, okay, here we go. So she goes, so we have 40 milligram tabs, and we decided to take 20 microgram, excuse me, 40 microgram tabs. And we decided to split it and each take 20 micrograms for the first day to see how it would feel. So she goes and she takes hers, and I didn't take mine. I got to admit, I let her guinea pig this one. I wanted to see what would happen. I was nervous about the effects. Like, I was nervous it was gonna make me feel really bad, that I was gonna be skitzed out, that I was gonna have heart palpitations and all this, because I'm already on a bunch of tren. Well, not a bunch, but like I'm on like 700 milligrams of gear right now, and I'm pretty wired up like all the time. My what is it? Sympathetic drive is amped to the max. That's the reason that you haven't seen any videos about me increasing my trenbolone dose, because I don't have any intention on increasing it. I'm currently at 140 milligrams of Tren Ace per week. That's 20 milligrams per day, and it is about as much as I can tolerate without having too many negative side effects. So I'm already pretty much amped to the max that I want to be. And I was concerned adding Clenbuterol on top of it could make for a bad day for me. So my wife takes her 20 microgram Clen early in the morning, around like 8:30 or 9 o'clock in the morning. And I'm expecting her to start reporting effects within 30 minutes to an hour at an absolute maximum. She took the Clen within 30 minutes, 15 minutes. She wasn't really reporting anything. And she went about doing her homeschool day. And so at one point, like an hour or two after I think she had taken it, I walked into the homeschool, like our little classroom where the kids were at, and I was like, how you feeling? And like, I fully expected, I was getting ready to get a report. And she was like, oh, yeah, I don't know. I don't really feel anything. I'm like, really? You don't feel anything? She's like, no, like I'm awake, you know? And you could tell she was kind of on one. Like, she was clearly awake, and she was clearly very driven. Like, she looked tweaky, but she didn't report feeling it at all. Like, but see, I can't know how much that's confirmation bias. I'm walking in there expecting her to be having an effect. She reported not having it. I felt that her body language, mannerisms, like just the vibe in the room was suggestive that she was a little amped, even if she wasn't claiming to feel that way. I asked her, did she feel any body temperature rises, heart increases, all of this? She said no, but she had taken her blood pressure and her pulse before dropping the Clen. Her blood pressure's, baby, do you know what your blood pressure was?
I'd have to look, I can't remember.
You wrote it down?
It was like 96/58.
Her blood pressure before she took Clen was like 96/58. I think her resting pulse is like 75 to 80 beats a minute. Okay, that's on 20 milligrams of Primo per week.
It was 98/59, and my heart rate was 70 beats per minute.
Before Clen, it was 98/59, and your heart rate was what? 70. Did you take it? Do you have the reading from when you'd been on it for a while?
I think after I was on it, it was 96/58.
So basically, like 2 hours in, huh?
75 beats per minute when I came back.
So basically like 2 hours or so in after she'd ingested it, 2 or 3 hours after ingesting 20 micrograms of Clenbuterol, her blood pressure had not changed remarkably at all. Her pulse had increased about 5 beats per minute, from like 69 to 74 or 75 beats per minute. She was reporting no like warming sensation, like she didn't feel like her body was warming up, which is one of the things that they say Clen does, is it raises your body temperature, and that's part of what raises your basal metabolic rate. It's supposed to be a vasodilator, which is what the drug actually is. From my understanding, Clenbuterol is primarily used in horses and cattle. It's a veterinary drug. Similar to albuterol, which is given to humans. So it's like an asthma drug, but it's a beta-2 agonist, which, I don't know, all of that. I know that it can increase heart rate, although it's supposed to do it to a lesser degree than something like ephedra or ephedrine, because it acts on the beta-2 receptor, not the beta-1 receptor, which is, I think, the heart receptor. So the beta-2 receptor is what this drug is acting on. It does not have any direct steroidal effects that I have been able to find in any of the literature. So she was not feeling the increased body temperature. She had very minorly increased pulse, no increased blood pressure, and she wasn't feeling psychologically anything. So I'm like, okay, well, shit, like maybe 20 micrograms is not enough. So I go in there at about 11:30 or 12 is by the time I decided to take my tampon out and go ahead and try the drug. And so I took my 20 milligram dose at around 11:30 or 12. Now keep in mind, we had one pill out of one box broken in half. She took half, I took half. This is as good of a test of a drug as I think you can get. We know for a fact that we both took the exact same pill. So unless somebody's going to argue that all the drug was on one side of the pill, assuming that this pharma grade pill was evenly distributed, we both got the same amount of the same drug. Within 15 to 30 minutes of me ingesting the Clen, I could already feel my body temperature rising. I could feel like my temperature felt hot, like not really sweaty, but you just feel a little bit warm. I didn't have heart palpitations, but I felt quite certainly that my heart rate was increased. And I felt, when I took it, one of the reasons that I took it, the only reason, honestly, that I took it, I had decided that day I was not going to take it. I kept researching it after she took it, and I couldn't find anything but negative things about it. And so I had decided I was not going to take it. I did not get restful sleep the night before, and I was sitting at my computer trying to do work, and I was falling asleep. And so it was like, okay, I got to take either a bunch of caffeine, a modafinil, or I'm going to take this Clenbuterol and see what happens. So I ultimately just decided, you know what, F it. You know, you only live once. Like, let's do some experimentation. She's taking it, might as well take it so that we can compare effects. So I take 20 micrograms of Clenbuterol, and within 15 minutes, suddenly I notice I'm absolutely not tired at all. I was fake. Like, I was gonna go take a nap, or I was gonna have to take a modafinil. I was very, very tired. Within 15 to 20 minutes of taking the Clenbuterol, I had zero feeling of tired at all. But I did not, at this point, feel wired, overamped. I felt no negative psychological sensation at all. I was just very awake and very alert, feeling just like a perfectly rested sleep. So I'd gone from about to pass out to perfectly rested in 15 to 20 minutes. Within the next 15 to 20 minutes, I started to feel body temperature increase. I could definitively feel that I was warming up. I think she didn't believe me. Or I don't know that she didn't believe me, but she's like, really? Like, she didn't have that effect at all. So she got the thermometer and checked my temperature, and my body temperature was 99.1 degrees. I typically do not run this temperature. Typically my temperature is low. So normally my body temperature is like 97.9. So she checked my body temperature. I was at 99.1, and I was feeling hot, warmed up. After that, within the next 10 to 15 minutes, I started feeling amped. Like I felt like some of the effects of speed without the euphoria, basically. Like, I had intensity, I had a drive. I felt like I have congestion. You guys may notice I hack a lot on this camera. I think it's allergies. It'll go away. If I stay indoors for extended periods of time, it'll go away for, I didn't have it for a month or so, and then it just recently came back. I can't figure out if it's allergies or me putting my wife's feet in my mouth. Right now I'm trying to figure those two out, because I also didn't put her feet in my mouth for a while, and the chest congestion went away, and then I put them in my mouth the other night, and then like 3 days later I had chest congestion. So, see, you can never tell what's going on. Is it feet or pollen? Is it fungus from outside or fungus from inside? Who knows? But I often have, I'm often clearing my throat. I feel like I have phlegm in my chest, despite the fact that I have negative scan for any kind of COPD or anything. So I noticed increased body temperature, increased pulse rate, my actual body temperature read higher than it was reading, and then I started to feel not just not tired, but energetic, like amped and awake. The body, the feeling, like the hot flash, kind of was very transient. I would say that it came on and lasted, I don't know, 15, maybe 20 minutes, and then I didn't notice the sensation of the body temperature any longer. But when I went into the bedroom, into the schoolroom sometime later, she thought I didn't look good. She thought I was unusually red in the face. She said that it looked like I get Trin eyes right here. I don't know what causes it, but when I'm on Trin, my eyes are really red. There's red marks around both sides of my eyes. They're almost like raccoon eyes. She thought that was darkening even more. She checked my temperature again, and it was up to 99.5. So it had gone presumably from somewhere around 97.9 up to 99.1, then up to 99.5. I checked my blood pressure. My blood pressure, just like hers, was normal. I've been running around 118 over, what is it, 70? What's my low number usually? We always think it's kind of low, but
It was usually in the 50s or 60s.
mine is never in the 50s. I would be in the hospital. It's like, maybe it's upper 60s. I don't know. 118 over something that's on the low end. And my pulse is generally, my pulse, like on a good day, my resting pulse is 80 beats a minute. That's about as low as I ever get on the gear that I'm on. When I go on GH, it'll jump up to like 85 for the first couple weeks, and it'll usually get back down to about 80. So I had a resting pulse of about 80 before I took the Clenbuterol. And along with the body temperature increases and everything else, my pulse was up to 85 beats a minute. So both of us experienced about a 5 beat per minute increase in pulse rate, no increase in blood pressure. She experienced 0 physical effects. I experienced every single one of the telltale effects, from the rise in body temperature, which was actually confirmed by thermometer, the intense alertness, and then the thing, we have kids around here?
She's going in her room. Go to your room.
The other thing that I have been researching for 2 days trying to figure out, that I did not expect, and I still cannot understand why it's happening. The Clenbuterol makes me outrageously horny. Like, I mean, insane. This is the closest I've been to this level of libido was the first time I took Proviron. That came out of the blue. I had absolutely 0 expectation of this. It has made me extremely, like, I am thinking about sexual things almost nonstop throughout the day. When I'm sitting on the couch with my wife at night, we're trying to watch Dexter or something, I'm playing with her feet. I want to get into details because they're not going to let me publish this video. But just let me say, extreme sexual ideation. I don't know where that's coming from. So that was basically day 1. We both took 20 micrograms. She felt effectively nothing. I felt all of the classical symptoms, and really ended up feeling like it was a great experience. The only negative I had to report from day 1 was that, per usual, like, I took mine around noon, and by, later in the evening, I was starting to feel what I call cracked out. Like, I was starting to feel like the drug had peaked and was no longer peaking in my system, and I was craving it, or I was feeling the absence of something. It's the same thing that happens on acetate esters. I don't know what it is, but I definitely felt like if I had taken another dose that day, I would have felt better. So we both get up the next day and immediately decide, both of us, to take our Clen first thing in the morning. I noticed that when I woke up, I had no trouble going to sleep. Okay, so neither of us had any difficulty going to sleep on 20 micrograms, which, be aware, I fully understand that's a very low dose. So 20 micrograms, we both slept perfectly good. We both reported that when we woke up the following morning, it was like less of the brain fog waking up. It was like the alarm goes off, and it was like already like a higher level of alertness right out of bed than you would normally feel. As if we had gotten better restful sleep, but the truth was neither of us did. So obviously this drug has a very long half-life. It should have still been active in our system, and it seems that the fact that we woke up relatively alert relative to normal might be indicative of that. So we both took 20 micrograms again first thing in the morning and had an identical repeat experience. She experienced 0 psychological effects, right? The second day, nothing? Oh, she's with my daughter. She said second day nothing. I think she's gonna make her own video about this and talk about it, which is why we were gonna shoot this together, and I'm trying to con her into doing more content on her channel. So I think she's gonna do her own video. She reported she didn't have any body temperature increases. Not from thermometer or from feel. She didn't feel like she was hotter. She didn't feel sped up. She didn't feel cracked out in any way. She didn't have any heart palpitations, nothing. Blood pressure checks, again, no rise in blood pressure, about a 5 beat per minute increase in heart rate. That was it for her, nothing else. I had, again, all of the same effects. I felt the body temperature rise, although admittedly it was very brief and then went away. We checked my body temperature with the thermometer, and it did not reflect actual higher body temperature the second day. So I don't know if that's connected to the fact that I felt warm for a brief minute, but later on when we checked it, it was not actually higher. Again, no increase in blood pressure, slight increase in pulse rate, but I was very, very alert and firing on all cylinders and going, and I had extreme sexual ideation again. In fact, I was having more spontaneous, arousal states than I've been having in quite a while. I had like porno on the brain, and I could not get rid of it. So this is day 2. So day 2, I decided about 4 o'clock when I take my second trend dose that I was going to dose another 20 micrograms of Clenbuterol to see if that would combat the what I refer to as the come down effect. So I dosed the trend and the Clenbuterol, and sure enough, within 5 to 10 minutes of dosing the second Clenbuterol dose, the come down effects went immediately away. I started coming up on the drug again. I could feel my it was like my breathing was amplified, my intensity, everything was up. I was feeling really great for about the first hour or 2. We went to the gym, and I had a good workout. Wait, did we go to the gym yesterday? No, we did not go to the gym yesterday. We went to the gym the first night. So yesterday, when I took 2 doses of Clen, we did not go to the gym, and we just laid around the house watching TV. And I think I think we were just pretty much laying around the house. I did not have a good night the second night. By the time I took it at about 4 o'clock, we were eating dinner, watching Dexter with my son at about 6, probably between 6 and 7, and I was experiencing all of the acute, like, overdrive effects. In fact, I was sitting there with my wife, and she was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "You don't look good." And I'm like, "Well, I really don't feel good, and I hope this gets better, but I feel like I need to go take a Xanax." It's hard to fully explain. I guess it just feels like overamped sympathetic drive. It's like overamped fight or flight response is what I felt like. Then I started having chest pains. So toward the end of watching Dexter, I was having like an acute pain, like just to the left of my sternum, basically right there is where it was at. It felt deep inside my chest. Now, it could be heartburn. Yes, I was in the middle of eating, so you cannot rule that out. But it was just like a kind of a constant pain that would subside for a minute, then it would come back. And it was acute enough that I started to get nervous, and I made the mistake of starting to do research on like Clenbuterol and heart problems. And oh my God, you can find tons of examples of young, like I was reading this one report of like a 22-year-old bodybuilder who was on a handful of anabolics and a low dose of Clen and had a myocardial infarction, ended up in the hospital. His started out with chest pains similar to mine, then transitioned to vomiting, and then he went to the ER and then was out and then back, and then they determined that it was the Clenbuterol was what caused it, which did not help the fact that I was already in this overdrive, sympathetic drive state, and I think I think honestly I started to panic on top of it, and I was just really feeling bad. Like I was not feeling good at all. And then to make matters worse, after dinner, I started to have, for some reason, after dinner, often I will just suddenly hit a wall. Like, I don't know if it's some kind of postprandial somnolence. It seems to it'll happen after high carb dinners usually. Honestly, any dinner can cause it. And it always happens when I'm on GH. So I always take my GH in the evening, about 3 hours before bed. And every night, the following night, after dinner, often I'll just go pass out for like 10 or 15 minutes and then wake up, and then I feel fine. I don't know what causes it. I've checked blood sugar to see if it was high or low. It doesn't seem to be connected to blood sugar. I can't find any cause of this, but it sucks because I will suddenly just hit a wall and will not be able to stay awake. I go lay down. Sometimes it's 15 minutes, sometimes it's 30 minutes, then I'm up and about again like nothing happened. I don't know what causes it. So I'm all like kind of amped up and cracked out on Tren and a second dose of Clenbuterol, And then I start feeling tired, but it's like there's tired over oh, I forgot to tell you. The second day, after I dosed my second dose of Clenbuterol at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, at 5 o'clock when I got done working, I conned my wife. I can't remember if my wife went to lay down or I asked her to go lay down. I can't remember. But we laid down to like, we weren't trying to take a nap. We were both on the Clen. We laid down and both had some kind of bizarre semi-sleep, semi-daydream thing. We were like spooned up on the bed, and both of us would be laying there like just eyes closed, kind of like vivid daydreams, like on the verge of sleep. And what kept happening to me is I would start snoring and then immediately wake up. We laid there. How long did we lay there?
About 40 minutes.
About 40 minutes we laid completely in just like perfect spoon position, like pressed against each other for 40 straight minutes. Neither of us moved. Both of us were in like some in between waking and sleeping phase. She reported that a couple times she fell asleep, started snoring, woke herself up. I fell asleep, started snoring, woke myself up. Or it was the most bizarre thing ever, and it happened right after I took my pill. So normally it keeps me awake. I felt very alert and very awake when I laid down next to her, but it caused me to have some kind of just like contentment with just laying there cuddling her and kind of fantasizing. And so I was laying there just having pornographic fantasies the whole time, and then I would kind of doze off and come back and doze off and come back. And this went on for like 40 minutes, and then we both just kind of shot out of bed. Like normally we take a nap and you wake up from the nap and you're like, sometimes you feel worse, you're like groggy, you're like, you're trying to get going again. You feel like first thing in the morning. This was some kind of bizarre waking nap thing, daydream. I don't know what the hell it was, but when we both like clearly came to, there was zero tiredness, it was just like totally refreshed feeling. I don't know what that was. Happened to both of us. So we go about our day. She makes dinner, like I was saying. And then after dinner, I started having chest pains and feeling way too cracked out. So if you don't know, the drug peaks in serum concentration about 3 hours post-ingestion. So I feel the best from basically right after taking the pill for about 4 hours. I feel the drug rising my system. It peaks at about the 3 hour mark, still feels pretty good out to 4, maybe 5 hours. And then I start feeling like the effects of come down. And so by the time the drug peaked in my system from the second dose, that was the time that I was sitting on the couch having dinner with my family and started having the chest pains and the feeling like I was overamped, like I had too much anxiety, too much sympathetic drive, and really needed Xanax. I chose not to take one and try to stay on top of it. And then after that, as I was saying before, I remembered the sleepy thing. I started feeling like I was gonna have one of my crashes. And we were sitting in my daughter's room. She was serving us like a play dinner. And so we were both sitting there trying to have play dinner. And I just kind of keeled over on the floor and laid there for like 5 minutes while they finished up the dinner, and then got myself up and came in the living room to watch the god-awful presidential debate. So about 8:30 or 9, I started feeling a headache coming on. And the headache got worse and worse and worse and worse until the point where last night before bed, it was one of the most crushing headaches I've had in a long time. I took headache medicine and it did not resolve it at all. I do not know if this was caused by the Clen. My wife and I both feel like we have a little bit of post nasal drip from either sinuses or allergies or something. But it ruined. We did not have any adult activity last night, which we do every single night. That tells you how bad I felt, because basically nothing, I have to feel pretty bad for that not to happen. And I had zero interest. I couldn't do it. I felt miserable. And I had decided basically that I was never going to take the Clen again. So that was unfortunate. So I woke up this morning and woke up quite a lot. Did you take it this morning?
Yeah.
And same thing. So she took another 20 micrograms this morning. She was good and busy and going all day long, but she's still feeling no psychological effects. I decided not to take any for a while. I wasn't going to take it at all because I had such a bad experience. So I thought, well, maybe I'll let the 20 micrograms that I took the night before run out of my system, and I'll go back to taking 20 a day. But by about 11:30, I was falling asleep again. And I was actually on the road going to visit clients. And so I had taken my pill with me in like a little pill holder. And so I thought, you know what? I thought maybe this is just like Cialis. Like for whatever reason, this is just yet again another experience that has proven how uniquely sensitive I am to drugs. My wife and I are both running the exact same pill at the exact, well, I'm now dosing, well, the second day I dosed more than her. But 1-to-1, she's having no psychological effects from this drug, while both of us are having about a 5 beat per minute increase in pulse. Other than that, that's about the only symptom we are sharing. She's experiencing nothing. We were looking up last night to find out, like, are there people who don't feel Clen? There is actually a genetic mutation that will really prevent it from affecting you. Maybe she has it. I don't know. I feel it acutely. She looked up, I think she did some research last night, like, is it normal not to feel the Clen? And basically, some girl asked this question on like Reddit, and everybody was telling her, your Clen is bad, your Clen is bad. 100% you should feel it, without a doubt. There's no way you should not be able to feel it. And so if this was Sarah taking it by herself, she would be convinced that she had bad Clen, because she does not feel anything. Thankfully, I'm taking the exact same pill and getting every single effect, including headaches is one of the effects. The one thing there's 2 things I cannot figure out yet. I'm having extreme horniness, extreme sexual ideation, and if anything, this drug is acting like an appetite stimulant, not a suppressant. It has had 0 negative effect on my appetite at all. In fact, I think I ate more yesterday on the Clen than I did the day before. It is making me feel hungry, I'm quite certain. Sarah is not convinced that it's the Clen. She thinks it's just because I'm cutting. It's very possible that's true, because I'm definitely having much more hunger because I'm intentionally restricting calories. So maybe the Clen is just not that potent of an appetite stimulant. I mean, I am taking MK677 while cutting, so here's your sign. But yeah, so I've had extreme libido and absolutely no appetite depression. So today I was feeling tired, and again I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'm just acutely sensitive to the drug. So I had a 20 microgram, my half of the 20 microgram pill from this morning. I broke my half in half and took 10 micrograms at about 11:30, and had the best day I've had in a long time. 10 micrograms was the perfect amount for me. I got all of the positive effects. It immediately woke me up. I had tremendous drive. I was on the road. It was raining. I didn't give a shit. I was out going door to door, seeing customers, knocking on, I had much more energy to get out of the car and go knock doors. And one of the things that has been a major negative in my sales career is sometimes I get on the street and I get in my head and I'll prejudge businesses. I'll drive by, I'm like, oh, they don't have enough dock doors to be worth it. Oh, that place looks too hard to get into. And it's just a negative thing that sometimes sales guys go through. I was knocking every single door I could come across. I was just very driven at work, very positive, upbeat mood, no experience of excessive sympathetic drive. It just felt like it put me in the sweet spot. 10 micrograms had me awake and alert and getting all of the effects that I wanted from it. Now, keep in mind, I did not know this was going to happen. I understood this to be a vasodilator, like an asthma drug that had the ability to be a fat burner because it increases basal metabolic rate. That's what I understand this drug to be used for. It is a very potent stimulant in my body. It wakes me up. It gives me a lot of drive. It gives me a lot of the speed-like horniness and sexual ideation. It's very motivating, but for me, I seem to be very acutely sensitive to it. So today I've only had 10 micrograms. I intended to take my other 10. Do I have it on me? I don't. I'm going to take another 10 this evening and see how that goes. So it'll be a total of 20 micrograms for the day, split into 2 10 milligram doses. That's what I'm going to try to do today and see how that works. I don't know if this is the kind of thing you build up tolerance to. I know that a lot of people who use this go up to I think I think Doucette says he goes up to 120 micrograms per day, for the purposes of prepping for a show or whatever. So that's a lot of rambling to say this has been our experience of Clenbuterol in the first 3 days. I've already changed my dosing protocol 3 times, and I think that in this case, for me, there is definitely going to be a situation of less is more. She, on the other hand, is feeling nothing. So according to her, this is the safest drug she could possibly run because she's having no heart palpitations, no increased body temperature, nothing. It's like she's taking nothing other than, I think she would agree, that she's not tired and she's driven during the day. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yes. So there you have it. I don't know. I'm eager to see the responses and the comments on this because this is basically, Clenbuterol has basically been off of my radar. So maybe the whole audience who's used this is like, of course, Mike, like maybe you guys are going to enlighten me and tell me what's going on with her? Why am I having effects that I can't pinpoint when I look up libido and Clen? Like, I'm not finding that in men. I'm finding it, there's some women claim to experience it, but a lot of the effects that I'm having, I'm not reading anywhere online. So I would love to hear some responses to what you guys think is going on. Why is she not feeling it? Is it just because it's not a big enough dose for her and I happen to be crazy sensitive to it? Is it stronger in me because I already have the heightened sympathetic drive from the tren? So there's like an additive effect between the tren and the Clen, the tren and the Clen. Are they combining together to cause me to feel a smaller dose more than her? What do you guys think? What do you take? How long should we run it? Is it going to cause me to have a heart attack? Would love to get all of the responses in the comments about this because I know little to nothing about it, have no experience with it. So if anybody has any ideas about why it's not working for her, I'd love to see that. Anything and everything. I'm going to stop rambling and go take some more of this because clearly I need it. And as always, we'll see you on the next one.